Hello, friends. Welcome back to Borders and Beyond. Today, we turn our attention to a diplomatic movement that just didn't happen. They were a lot of decades into making, and India and Cyprus have had shared roots, shared history, shared trust. The first time the visit happened was in 1983 when Indira Gandhi went to Cyprus. And then Vajpayee ji went in early 2000, and we had a gap of about 25 years. And very recently, Prime Minister Narendra Modi went to Cyprus. And there was a very strategic message related to that. And to discuss more, to discuss the symbolism around it, we're going to talk to Ms. Purnima Balasubramaniam, and she's a strategic affairs expert with an extreme deep lens on all this region. So, welcome to the podcast, Purnima.
Thank you, Chitresh. Thanks for having me here.
Okay, so Purnima, I'd like to understand from you, why do you think why Cyprus now? Do you think it was because of Turkey? What is the strategic messaging that the Prime Minister wanted to give to Turkey and to Indians?
Okay, thanks for the question. I think I'll first go with explaining why Cyprus and then go into why Cyprus now at this moment. Firstly, Cyprus, I think it may not always dominate the headlines, and especially with India, but I think its strategic relevance is immense, especially in today's shifting geopolitical realities in the Middle East, where it is positioned is of extreme importance. And so geography here plays a central role. Cyprus is sitting at the intersection of Europe, Middle East, North Africa, and by extension also Asia. So I think it's not just about the trade routes, but while they are vital, it's also about influence and access. From Cyprus, you have a direct vantage point into the security complexities of the Eastern Mediterranean, the Levant part of the Middle East, and the broader shifts in Europe in the north and Africa down south. So I think Cyprus is positioned very well, and it is definitely a central aspect of India's security interests. For India, engaging with Cyprus will definitely help reinforce its presence in the Eastern Mediterranean, a region that right now is gaining increasing significance due to its energy dynamics, the maritime aspect of the region, and also regional diplomacy. I think it strengthens India's diplomatic and maritime outreach, especially, the Eastern Mediterranean emerges as a key source of energy for India, with significant natural gas reserves found there. And third, with the European Union recalibrating its global partnerships generally and showing increased amount of interest in Asia, I think Cyprus would be a very good start point as being part of the European Union for India. And this could help India diversify and gain larger reach in the European Union itself. And I think that is a major reason why I think there is now a renewed interest in Cyprus as well. And finally, Cyprus and India share similar interests, diplomatic interests, and diplomatic approach, especially with respect to the neutral stance it takes in the Middle East, especially except with Turkey. And Cyprus has over the years consistently supported India's stance in very sensitive issues like Kashmir, vis-a-vis Pakistan, and India's bid for a permanent UNSC seat. So that makes it a very valuable diplomatic ally. Now, coming to the question of why now, I think most of us can accept the fact that this is one of India's major diplomatic step that is taken in the light of Pahalgam attack in Kashmir. India is now seeking to counterbalance against Turkey and Pakistan. I think the current visit sends a strong message to Turkey amid its deepening ties with Pakistan, especially after it very vocally expressed support for Pakistan after the terrorist attack and the following military operations. So this visit is part of India's larger diplomatic outreach to establish its interests and principles to other countries of the world. following the attack. And I think this visit, while partly also focuses on economic cooperation and expressing support for Cyprus's territorial integrity and sovereignty, it also helps India consolidate its international support and also build some sort of leverage in the international community. And I think another important issue here is that of Cyprus's role in the European Union as well. And right now, why it is relevant is because Cyprus will hold the presidency at the European Union Council starting January 2026. And I think making an early engagement will be crucial for the larger India-EU relations and potential trade agreements that might come out of it. And thirdly, something that, in my opinion, the visit is relevant is because a lot of conflicts right now have been brewing newly in the Middle East, and countries will increasingly face the need to prepare as many safe havens as possible near the region. And especially with a sizable Indian diaspora in the Middle East, I think this trip will help India expedite one such havens in Cyprus. Already, a lot of countries, including Israel, have sought Cyprus's help to evacuate their citizens and take their citizens out of the region. So I think this will be an added advantage for India as well. So this visit, especially after more than 2 decades, arrives at the right moment, in my opinion. And it's about opening new avenues, diversifying alliances, and also projecting influence in right now a volatile yet a very important region of the world. So I think that way this visit is extremely relevant and significant. I think you're muted.
Sorry. So there is a saying in Hindi that दुश्मन का दुश्मन दोस्त होता है. And Turkey has been supporting Pakistan forever. And in fact, from the historical context, the Mughals, and I don't want to get into the historic times, but definitely in the last 80 years, even though we helped Turkey when it came to their earthquake, but it was obviously of no use whatsoever. Do you think because Turkey's invasion of Cyprus happened in 1973-74, and so it could be that the Turkey is a reason? That's one. And point number two, what I wanted to ask from you was, do you think there's a large amount of tourists that actually go to Turkey? So there are about 3 lakh tourists that go from India every year to Turkey. That's a huge, sizable business opportunity, and Cyprus is not there on the radar. And because there is a geographical proximity, so Modi ji wants to send a message that we're going to hurt you where it hurts the most.
Definitely, you're right. Especially with Turkey, with the amount of help and diplomatic humanitarian outreach that India has extended for Turkey during difficult times, such a response from Turkey during a massive terrorist attack that has impacted India was not welcome, and it's still not welcome. And I think under the current government, the leadership has always made sure that those that overtly, does express support for India's adversaries, know that India does not prefer it, and makes sure that not directly, not through direct confrontation, not with any kind of a loud retaliation, but rather a quiet, more unprovocative way, India ensures that the other party hears that it is not happy with it. And that's why we saw a lot of Indian tourists cancelling their planned visits to Turkey. And that way, I think Turkey's tourism sector has had a very huge impact. But still, their position with respect to Pakistan has not changed. And that's where Cyprus comes, because, like you said, geographical proximity, and also Cyprus offers a wonderful tourist destination as well. So this could also be India's way of clearing the avenue to channelize all their tourists that initially chose Turkey would probably now choose Cyprus, and that would again be a very effective signaling for Turkey.
I'd like to understand, why do you think Turkey would be helping Pakistan over India? India is a huge market. What do you think can be the reason? It can't be religion, because Turkey, while it pretends to be a Muslim Ummah's big boss, thinking about Ottoman Empire and all these things. But if you go and visit Turkey, if you meet their people, they're as Europeans as you can expect them to be. So, and obviously Pakistan can never match to the market levels that India can. Why do you think, if we were to crystal gaze, why do you think Turkey helps Pakistan, even though it hates Pakistanis to the core?
I think that's where we might have to look into the government perspective. We might have to separate what the general population thinks about Pakistan. Rather, I think it's the orientation of the government. It's what President Erdogan. I think, especially, it's already established that in Turkey, it's rather than democratic or a popular way of governance, it's become more centralized over the years. And I think what Turkey is now positioning itself as a close ally to Pakistan is more of a personal choice that Erdogan and his government has made, irrespective of what the population has thought. So that way, I think definitely the factor of religion plays here, because back in Turkey, Erdogan has been trying to make the society more conservative than it used to be by introducing hijab and whatnot. So I think the way the government wants Turkey to become is more towards the religious conservative aspect of it. So I think religion here definitely plays a part when it comes to supporting Pakistan or India. And apart from that, I think Pakistan and Turkey have, at least government ways, they do have strong defense ties, and that way I think it's both religion as well as those defense ties that's right now pushing Erdogan's Turkey, towards Pakistan. And I don't think it's a general, irrespective of what the population thinks. I think the government has put a heavy foot on this and chosen to support Pakistan.
Indian Middle East corridor, it was discussed way back in G20 summit when the India was taking care of it, which is early 2023 to end 2023. Do you think that actually will happen? Because I don't quite frankly see there is much happened, because immediately after that there were elections in India, early 2024, then there were elections in US. Do you think it was just a mere statement? Because if that were to happen, India would get connected to Europe, from here to Saudi Arabia to Haifa, and from Haifa to Cyprus and Greece. So do you think that's going to happen, and that's going to really improve our overall economy and other things?
Okay, so when the idea was initially introduced, I'm pretty sure that the countries involved wanted to move ahead with it. I wouldn't say it was a mere statement, but unfortunately, it came at the point where the administration was going to change in the US, and also when the Gaza war started in a very big way. And since the corridor would traverse through Middle East, and also including UAE and Israel as well, there it hit a dead point, I would say. And still there have been interests, of course, from India and UAE's aspect, but since Israel is now focused on a multi-front war, I would say, and with the US, the leadership changing, this would be delayed by several years. With just two countries involved and one country over involved in it, I do not think it would materialize in the immediate future anytime. Firstly, we have to wait for the conflicts to settle down in the Middle East, which right now seem to be going in a spiral, only escalating. And secondly, we want the US leadership to also be involved as it was in the previous government. So with these two major challenges still in India's way, I think the entire project will be stalled. We will have to wait and see how the conflict goes on, and we will also have to wait and see what President Trump feels about this. I think the whole group of states haven't got the opportunity to come together and discuss about it just because of these global challenges, the conflicts, etc. So I think the first signal would be the conflicts pacifying down in the Middle East. Then maybe in a sort of diplomatic avenue should help it going again. But till then, I think, in my opinion, the project is stalled.
And Prime Minister's historic visit to the Green Line. What messaging do you think it has made? And did Vajpayee ji also go there? I mean, I'd like to understand for our viewers.
I think it's Prime Minister Modi who's made the first visit to the Green Line, and very true. The image was very meaningful, although it was subtle. Prime Minister's quiet walk near the ceasefire line in Nicosia wasn't just a photo op. It was again a diplomatic message that India is trying to convey to Turkey, to condemn it for the diplomatic stance that it has taken with respect to the whole terror attack in India. And I think it's also a sort of a gesture that India has tried to share with Cyprus, as it has also been the victim of contested borders, the wars that have come out of it. So it's about sharing experiences, but not vocally, but rather more symbolically. So I think it tried echoing India's own experience. So that way, India did share a personal experience with Cyprus, further strengthening their bonds. And the visit, I think we can parallel this visit to President Trump's visit to the demilitarized zone in North Korea. Both had very huge symbolic significance. They physically positioned themselves at highly sensitive divided borders to send powerful diplomatic messages in the hope of further peace and stability in the particular region. And in this case, PM Modi has tried affirming India's support for Cyprus's sovereignty and territorial integrity, in a way trying to tell Turkey that in any kind of future conflicts that may arise, India's diplomatic support would stand with Cyprus. So that is number one, a very great messaging. And these visits, I think, serve gestures of strategic intent also. Through these diplomatic measures, obviously, India tries to expand its economic interests as well. And this is just a foundation that it has laid for future cooperations with the Cyprus and the larger European Union and Eastern Mediterranean regions. And now, I think it is very important to understand India's diplomatic engagement with Cyprus dates back to the 1950s. Even in the UN, India advocated for Cyprus's independence and also opposed the partition. So way back in 1950s itself, India has projected, it has showed the world that it supports Cyprus's sovereignty over partition. So the diplomatic standing is nothing new. It has happened since 1950s. Just the way the government has projected it now has changed, and in a very meaningful and powerful, yet a very quiet way. So I think it's a very silent affirmation of Cyprus's rights, and it's also the government's way of showing that it stands against unilateral actions that alter established borders. And I think it's also India's emerging diplomatic style itself, one that employs quiet symbolism over louder declarations. I think you will remember the photo of Prime Minister Modi as a tourist in Lakshadweep, I think sometime last year, and that was super effective. That it tagged Indian tourist visits to Maldives after a few lawmakers in Maldives I think commented on that picture in a not welcoming way, and it also increased Lakshadweep's tourist inflow multifold. So such gestures, such signaling are at this current social media era a very, very, very powerful and significant messaging. And although the Maldives issue was in a different context, it proved to be super influential. And I think it also speaks to Prime Minister Modi's persona. And it is undeniable that his personality is one that is unique, and that one that is powerful enough to put him amongst the top powerful leaders in the world. So it's the walk near the Green Line is similar to one such. It has just projected India as a mature state, engaging sensitively with unresolved international disputes. And I think it's aligned with PM's use of powerful visuals to communicate foreign policy intent rather than empty talks and empty talks or any kind of a provocative declarations that would invite response from an adversary. So I think it was one of the brilliant moves that the government has taken, and it has proven to be effective.
So Turkey forever has advocated for the independence of Kashmir, the so-called independence of Kashmir. Do you think it's time? India talks about that 1974 partition, that illegal partition where Turkey had taken some northern areas. I think 1/3 of Cyprus is illegally been taken by Turkey. Do you think it's time, because no other country recognizes it? It's only Turkey which does that. So do you think the time has come that India, start becoming aggressive in UN and starts talking about the independence of that particular region?
It is definitely the time, but I do not suppose the government would take that path. Like I said, the government, including Prime Minister Modi, has chosen more quiet but effective ways of messaging than being loud when it comes to a third nation. If it's something that's involving it, of course, or in recent years, it's been pretty vocal about its particular stance, and it's been very open in also criticizing the other adversary, pulling them out, putting in light what has gone wrong and what they're doing that has led to such a situation in the borders or anywhere that is affecting India. But I do not think when it comes to a third party, India would directly and openly express its support in a way that provokes more conflict. Maybe when a conflict starts on its own, India would definitely express its diplomatic support and other kind of affordable supports. But I do not think India would take a unilateral action in this issue without being provoked further by any, say, Turkey or Pakistan or any of those states.
So I was just thinking, and I like to hear from you. A lot of Indians do visit Turkey because of pure ignorance, that they really don't know. In fact, I know quite a many of them, unfortunately, in my friends and family circle, who said, no, it cannot be. And I'm talking about a couple of years back. So why not create barriers that, for example, if you have to go for a tourist, you first have to report to the police. Once you come back from Turkey, you have to come back and report to the police. In India, fortunately, unfortunately, we are very scared of the police and the legal system. So the moment this happens, that yaar mujhe jana padega, I have to sign a document there, they're going to ask me questions, let's not go there. So I'm just saying, if India's power is its economy and its tourism, then let's really hit them. I mean, yes, I do understand all these symbolic gestures, but do you think the time has come to be a little more hard? You have to go to Turkey, fine, just go first, report to the police before you leave. 24 hours before you leave, and 24 hours immediately after you come, you have to again report to your police station. You have to show your itinerary. That would immediately create barriers. I don't know if somebody's thinking in those lines.
Definitely, it does definitely make sense. Like you rightly pointed out, it's mostly because of the ignorance, but also the tourist attractiveness of Turkey that has been pulling Indians to Turkey in, God knows, thousands and millions together. But right now, I think, yes, it is important that the government does incentivize people from going to visiting places like Turkey that has openly acted against India's national interest. But I think the awareness has naturally and is slowly coming up. Like I said, with social media, if you had followed what has happened after the military operations in Pakistan, a lot of even small companies that were dealing with Turkish companies, especially in the textile sector and retail and other manufacturing sectors, had boycotted any kind of trade relations with Turkey, and all by their own. And also, Indians have, like I said, Indians had cancelled their trips to Turkey, and I think the government I again do not think the government will openly condemn people going to Turkey, and unless there is actually a reason to do it. But I think there is general awareness is starting to come among people itself. People are not like they used to be there a few years ago. They are starting to think, they are starting to introspect about a place that they're traveling to, and I think Turkey is right now at this hot spot of it, and there will be more awareness on it, and I think naturally there will be some sort of hesitation while traveling to Turkey. But yes, I do agree that India can do more, the government can do more with respect to discouraging people to go to Turkey, particularly for national security reasons. But that would take a longer time, and also a credible reason for the government to show to the population why it is doing so.
Because see, I come from Punjab, which is right next to the border. So the Turkish drones were actually targeted towards the civilian areas.
Yes.
Right? It's not like Indian Army, it's not like the Indian Air Force that we're not going to hit civilians. We're only going to hit first the terror bases and then the military installation. Whereas Turkey, Pakistan, they really don't have all these differences. For them, enemy is an enemy. So now coming to the outcomes, there was a Indian Navy access given to Cyprus ports, real-time intelligence sharing, and I think UPI was also discussed.
Yes.
What do you think? How would you like to assess, all the depth and the implications? And do you think it's a long-term shift in India's footprints in the Mediterranean region?
Definitely, I think the substance of these agreements truly elevates the kind of relations India and Cyprus have shared all these years. There are tangible deliverables with significant significant weight. So I mean, the deals like the UPI Euro Bank integration, and even the Gift City link to the Cyprus Stock Exchange, I believe. I think they're very significant in this case. This isn't just about facilitating payments, but it also forms a digital and financial bridge between India and European Union. And Cyprus is just a starting point to it, and it also diversifies India's financial connectivity and puts it in the larger map of global financial architecture. So I think it's a great place to begin as well. And then you have the maritime access and other formalized defense cooperation, and this is about hard security and shared interests. Now these cooperation will help India in the longer term to gain maximum access to the maritime domain in the region, and also to have better naval reach, and help with strengthening supply chain resilience and general maritime domain awareness. And especially given the area is strategically valuable, rich in natural gas, but is also infested with a lot of maritime territorial disputes, especially between Greece and Turkey, Cyprus and Turkey itself, and Morocco and Turkey, and a lot of maritime territorial disputes surround that region. But otherwise, it's a very strategically calculated move that India has taken right now. And in fact, India has been part of a 3+1 grouping since 2023, involving Greece, Israel, and Cyprus, that aims to deepen security cooperation, energy cooperation, and other economic matters, as well as counterterrorism. So this is just a step ahead in an effort that was already initiated 2 years back. And it will also, in a future time where 𝐈𝐧𝐝 again starts getting materialized, this would help a lot for India. And along with it, cyber security and sharing are also very critical, given the amount of international transnational threats, including cyber attacks and drug and arms smuggling. It creates a larger stage for mutual security assistance between India and Cyprus. So, how do I assess these agreements? I think they are extremely high when it comes to strategic weight, and this isn't just an incremental step, but I think it's a foundational shift in India's long-term engagement with the Mediterranean region itself. And India isn't just looking at Cyprus in isolation. I think the larger picture would be to enhance its role in the European Union and also build its relations with each European countries itself, and it just signals India's intent to have multifaceted partnerships and expand beyond traditional alliances, I believe.
So Purnima, I like to understand from you, for our viewers, if you could just explain a little bit about the partition of Cyprus that happened in early 1970s. What was the reason and why no other country did anything about it? US, which has assumed the status of world peace, the so-called status of world peace, the leader of democracy, the free world head. Why did nothing happen from that mid 70s till 2025? And if you could just give a little bit of background to it.
Yeah, sure, I can. So Cyprus first gained independence in the 1960 from it was also under British colonial rule, just like India. So in 1960, it got independence. Everything was going well, but the problem here was Cyprus was divided. The population, the demography was divided into the Turkish Cypriots and the Greek Cypriots, just because of the location being positioned between Turkey and Greece. We had both Turkish Cypriots and Greek Cypriots, and in 1974 what happened is the Greek Cypriot community, they staged a coup to demand for Cyprus to join Greece, and that's when Turkey started getting involved in Cyprus, because they also had considerable amount of Turkish Cypriots. So Cyprus as a whole joining with Greece was not in their best interest. So, and also as part of a 1960 treaty, when they got independence, it was said that Britain, the United Kingdom, France, and Turkey will have equal part in deciding the larger future of Cyprus. So, as part of the treaty, Turkey got involved when this coup was staged, and then it captured about 3% of northern Cyprus. Much of it was inhabited by Turkish Cypriots, and after, of course, conflict, after a sort of a civil confrontation, Turkey then, at the end of the confrontation, Turkey captured about 36 or 37% of Cyprus, which is now called the Republic of Northern Cyprus, which only Turkey
is there a
recognizes.
Divide between the two?
Sorry?
Is there a religious divide that the mainland Cyprus is Christians and they are Muslims? Is it like that?
No, not necessarily. It isn't a religious division. It's mostly to do with the Turkish identity and Greek identity. And both Turkey and Greece, as we know, has a rich cultural background. So like I said, by virtue of geography, southern Cyprus they practiced the Greek way of lifestyle, whereas the northern Cypriots, they practice the Turkish side of lifestyle, and that's how they spoke Turkish, and the southern part of Cyprus, they speak Greek, and of course there was like a hard difference between the way both communities led their life, and that also interfered in the political domain as well, leading to the coup. And Turkey's involvement led to the formation of the Northern Cyprus, about 36% of Cyprus right now, and that is where the UN buffer zone was created. Of course, after the conflict, the UN involved in this, and the buffer zone was created. Now, to your question of why the US wasn't involved in this as effectively, or as it generally gets involved in other regions of the world, is because because of the involvement of the UK and France in this. And as part of the agreement also, as part of the treaty, only UK and France could get involved in Cyprus, affairs apart from Turkey. And I think the US just respected the same. It did not want to get involved in another part of the world where the UK and France already had dominance. So to a larger extent, like you said, US limited its role, and led the UK and France to take the lead here. And mostly it's the treaty, and it's Turkey that had the larger hold of the territory, and thus the Green Line was formed.
Okay, so why nothing till now? Is it that it's that part of the world which is not strategically or economically that important? Why nothing's been done? And why do you...
Are you talking about the US?
Yeah, nothing is done about that northern areas, disputed area.
Mm-hmm.
And why is not India helping militarily? Obviously, with not boots on the ground, but with the arms and equipment, because in the last 10 years, our India's defense exports have really grown up. Obviously, we are not at the level where it should be. It should be absolutely self-reliant, not dependent on US. US cannot be trusted, and Russia will get caught in the wars because USA will make sure that life is always extremely difficult for Russia at all point of time. So our S-400s got delayed. Su-57 is just a small refined version. So I don't know, God knows our 𝐒𝐴MCA will come. So why is India not helping Cyprus militarily with the Pinaka missiles and BrahMos and other things?
Right. For your first question on why the US has still not interfered there, if you see, US's political or even military actions have largely based on economic interests as well. And over the years, that has been the case. And in the other end of the Mediterranean lies Israel. So if US can get its economic interests in the Mediterranean region, even through Israel. So priority-wise, Cyprus did not really figure in the top priorities, strategic priorities for the US clearly. And the conflict between the South and the North was also not one that is bloody or violent. They have, limited maybe, the domestic level skirmishes or domestic level conflicts. But the conflict, touchwood, has so far not exploded in a massive way. So that US should come and intervene in it. So basically, economic interest, US is capable of taking care of it through Israel and other states in the other side of the other side of the Mediterranean as well. So I would just say it's just the economic interest that has not allowed Cyprus to figure in the topmost priorities of the United States. And with respect to India, yes, for the past 20 years, this particular relationship, I would say, was neglected to a larger extent, and because of that particular aspect, the defense ties have also not been very spectacular. In fact, it wasn't even existing until Prime Minister Modi's visit right now. So I think the relations now have a brighter future. I am almost certain that India will up its defense exports to Cyprus, like it does to other smaller states in the region itself, like Maldives and Vietnam. I'm sure Cyprus will be one of those other clients that will receive India's defense-related products, technology, and equipment in the coming future.
Do you think one of the reasons also of Modi visit was next year the presidency of European Union is going to be Cyprus?
Yes.
And European Union historically has not been very close to India and been relatively pro-Pakistan, once again for God knows reasons. Do you think that can also be an important part?
Definitely is. As I mentioned earlier, the timing is exactly very important to note here. Just we have another half a year before Cyprus becomes the president of the European Union Council. So, as a president, Cyprus can yield much influence within the bloc itself, and this would give India a very comfortable avenue to reach further within the European states. I'm sure European Union as a bloc hasn't had very close ties with India, but India is definitely forming strong relations with countries like France, Germany, individual relations, Italy, for example, and now it's even been invited for G7. So India's reach has already extended to a larger extent, but through Cyprus, India can further reach the parts of Europe that it hasn't reached to the optimal level so far. And I think even with respect to perception between India and Pakistan, countries these days have come forward to call out Pakistan for its terrorist activities as well. Of course, a lot of work needs to be done in that aspect. The US has played neutral, like you said, they're very fickle like that. You can't rely on US's diplomatic stance, but European Union, at least individual states of European Union, have proven to be stable at some points for India, and I think slowly they're also coming out to pull out the actual reasons to pull out Pakistan for for its support to to terrorist outfits and terrorist groups necessarily. So I think it's progressing in a very good way, but further work can be done, and I think that's exactly what the government is doing through its diplomatic outreach, through the committee that it has sent all across the world to help them understand what India actually stands for and what it means.
Okay. So, Purnamika, thank you so much for being with us and sharing your insights in this evolving partnership with Cyprus, India. And it was really an honor speaking to you. And I'm sure our viewers are extremely happy listening to your insights.
Thank you so much for having me. And it's been so long since I did a webinar. Ever since I got into the whole private risk advisory thing, I've not been involved in a lot of these, sharing ideas and academic forums. So it's really my pleasure to be part of this. Thank you. And thanks to Dr. Rajat who suggested my name. So it's been a pleasure.
Yes, thank you so much, Purnima. It was once again an honor talking to you, and we'll connect again. Thank you very much. Jai Hind. Bye bye.
Thank you, Jai Hind.